Welcome back. In this video, let's see the types of data and a popular data typology called Stevens typology. Before we dive into analytical methods, we need to know the types of data and the characteristics of each type. Understanding of data type is important because, as we will see later, we need to use different analytical methods according to data types. We already know data can be classified into quantitative data and qualitative data. Let's see each type in more detail. A variable that consists of quantitative data is called a quantitative variable. Quantitative data can be classified into discrete variable and continuous variable. Discrete variables can only take on a finite number of values. Typically, discrete variables consist of integers. A discrete variable is usually a count data, such as the number of students. 7-point scale variable that we often see in personnel evaluation is also an example of discrete variable. Another example is a people that die. A continuous variable can take on any value. Variables that can take on any value, but it falls in a specific range are also classified as a continuous variable. A typical example of a continuous variable is a distance between 2 points. It can be 10 kilometers, 10.1 kilometers, and 10.11 kilometers. That is, it can take on infinite values. Examples of continuous variable include time, temperature, height, and so on. In practical cases, some variables that are not truly continuous but take on very many discrete values are treated as a continuous variable. For example, the number of population in countries are integers, but usually treated as a continuous variable. Stevens typology is a popular and more elaborated typology of data. It was established by Stanley Smith Stevens in his paper published in 1946. This typology classifies qualitative variable into nominal and ordinal variable. And it classified quantitative variable into interval and ratio variables. Nominal variable classifies an object into subgroups by non-numeric labels. It does not have any rank order and cannot be measured quantitatively. Examples include gender, zip code, residency, and so on. Ordinal data is a variable that consists of naturally ordered categories. However, since ordinal data is not numerical, the distances between categories are uneven or unknown. So, the intervals between the category values have no meaning. Examples include FIFA soccer country ranking. The rankings are ordered, but we cannot say the interval between the first and the third equals to the interval between the second and the fourth. Interval data is a numeric data with a meaningful order, and the intervals between values are even. The temperature is an example of interval data. As for temperature, the intervals between each degree is even. That is, the difference between 8 degrees and 5 degrees and the difference between 5 and 2 degrees are the same, 3 temperature. But for interval data, the ratio between the values does not have meaning. As for temperature, we cannot say 8 degrees is 4 times higher than 2 degrees. Ratio data is a numerical data whose order, intervals, and the ratio have meaning. Examples include sales amount, physical distance, the number of employees in a company, and so on. As for the sales amount, we can say that the amount of $2 million is twice as much as that of $1 million. So the ratio is meaningful. It is sometimes difficult to distinguish between ratio data and interval data. We can distinguish them by considering whether or not the value of 0 means nothing in the variable. If 0 means nothing, the variable can be regarded as a ratio variable. For example, as for temperature, 0 degrees Celsius does not mean no temperature. It just represents the temperature at which water freezes. So it is an interval variable. On the contrary, when the physical distance between two objects is 0, it means that the two objects touch each other. So that there is no distance between the two. So physical distance is a ratio variable.